Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Welcome to our top travel destinations. I am your host, Kevin Flanagan. I have been editor of the weekly travel news column in the Sunday Independent and the Fine Wine and Food Guide, and I am here to use my decades of experience to help you know exactly where to stay, eat, drink, shop and explore when visiting the world's top travel destinations. So sit back and enjoy the wonders of travel as we take off on our magical journey together. Welcome to Kevin's Top Travel Destinations, and this week we are talking about a particular gem, Siena, in Italy. I came upon Siena as any 15th century visitor would, having followed the Via Francigena from Lucca. I will be doing a separate podcast on that amazing walk, which very nearly didn't happen. I nearly wrecked myself on the very first day. There's a lesson there. But I eventually made it to this Italian gem. Tradition actually says that Florence's traditional enemy, Siena, was founded by Cineas, who was the son of Remus, as you may remember, the brother of Romulus, the first king of Rome. And Cineas and his brother Aeschy had to leave the Eternal City. They fled to Siena on horseback. One, legend has it, was on a black horse and one on a white, hence the colours of Siena's present-day coat of arms. From an historic point of view, although previous events indicated the site was first settled by the Etruscans, around the 12th century the city's power grew, along with this bitter rivalry with Florence. And this led to a series of wars, the famous wars between the Guelph Florence, which was sympathetic towards the papacy in Rome, and the Ghibelline Sienas, which were sympathetic to the Holy Roman Empire. And it wasn't until the Battle of Montaperti in 1260 that saw the defeat of the Florentine troops and the ascendancy of Siena, but not for long. Florence got its revenge in the Battle of the Col Val d'Elsa in 1279, a place which we went on our pilgrimage tour. And there is a separate podcast on the Via Francigena, which I would suggest you listen to. It talks about this incredible pilgrimage from Lucca to Siena, which anyone can now take, and it's so worth it. I cannot overestimate how wonderful that pilgrimage route is. Anyway, Siena turned to the Guelph, enjoyed great prosperity, and it was this bourgeois group, the Council of Nine, that eventually led to the construction of these incredible buildings, Sienese Gothic style that gave it this stunning appearance. The cathedral, the public palace, and of course the Piazza del Campo, where the famous horse race takes place and which everybody flocks to. One of the real wonders of the world. No wonder Siena is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And although Siena still boasts the oldest working bank in the world, the Monte dei Paschi, the event that led to the decline of the city and the collapse of another bank, the Bonsignore Bank, that, coupled with the famine and the Black Death, led to, in 1956, King Philip II of Spain taking over Siena, and that basically was the end of the city. And the great thing about that was that Siena now remains essentially a medieval city because nobody built very much thereafter. So it's actually almost the city in aspic, and that gives it its uniqueness. There is no modern blocks and buildings that have been built or were allowed to be built. So few people know the city is still divided into three parts: the city itself, the Camollia, and San Martino, the Piazza del Campo. And this is what I love about walking in this uniquely medieval city. There's nowhere else where you quite get that medieval buzz. From the crowds in the Piazza del Campo, drinking in the sounds, and to have a spritz, Aperol Spritz, which is one of the drinks we have in the hot summer months. But there's nothing quite like those smells, that old brick and stone, that's suddenly surprisingly broken by freshly ground coffee or the smell of tomatoes and pizza. And there's again, in that Italian noonday sun, the breath, the sudden quiet of the shade, The sounds of Italians chattering like the sounds of Virgil. And it sounds so wonderful when they talk. They may only be ordering the spares for their washing machine, but nothing sounds quite so romantic and so profound, nor delivered with such energy. So Siena is not just about imposing Gothic cathedrals. There are so many other things. There's a fantastic botanical gardens. There's the Pinacoteca Nazionale, this fantastic building, the Fiscarcreti Academy of Natural History, the Camoglia, where the Basilica di Santa Domenica is, the Palazzo Tolmelli and the Fontel Branda stand. And finally, the Valley of Portagusta, the Palazzo del Mercato. These are unique sites with their own incredible sounds. Wonderful places to see. And that's not even talking about the extraordinary rich culinary tradition. You can't visit Siena without trying its cold cuts, its cheeses, its finocchiano, which is pork salami with fennel. Yum, 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 yum. Salami cianano, salamo di Cintasenza, tartufo salami, and wild boar sausage is my favourite. Give the pappardelle or the pici with wild boar or hare sauce a try. And then you've got these extraordinary desserts, the carelli, almond biscuits, the pan petato and the panforte. They're just delicious. I could go on, but more of that and the food later. And then last but not least, if you visit the city in early July or mid-August, you can attend the Palio, which is this extraordinary medieval horse race which has become world famous. So let's move on to the present day. Not only is Siena celebrated for its architecture, it has a vibrant cultural scene. You'll see plays, you'll see poetry readings. There are these extraordinary traditions. I think it's a must-see destination for travellers seeking to immerse themselves in the history and beauty of that wonderful part of Italy, Tuscany. So, where to stay? Well, Torre is a fashionable neighbourhood nowadays, and it's near the city's Jewish quarter, very accessible to the city centre. But there's a great range of authentic hotels and places to stay, all in these incredibly old buildings. One of my favourites would be the Grand Hotel Continental, Siena. This is a luxurious hotel right in the heart of the city centre. It's got such elegance about it. You've got then the NH Siena, a modern hotel near Siena's main attractions, very comfortable, excellent amenities. The Hotel Athena, that's sort of a charming hotel, warm atmosphere. Again, central location, very cosy roof and a fabulous rooftop terrace that gives you these incredible panoramic views as you sip your cocktail. But go on to Airbnb, which still has some fabulous offerings there. And there's hostels as well. You're coming down with different sorts of options. What to eat and where? Well, Siena is famous for certain dishes that can be enjoyed in the area's many restaurants. Along with a good glass, I would suggest Chianti, the local wine. Liver crostini is one of my favourite appetizers. Liver crostini is a Tuscan cuisine generally prepared using chicken or pork liver and served on slices of unsalted, lightly toasted Tuscan bread. Yum. It's a traditional dish, and it's very often prepared for holidays. It's almost impossible to find a restaurant that doesn't offer them. Pappardelle with hare sauce is one of the most traditional and tasty first courses of Tuscan cuisine, particularly to the city of Siena. And the pasta used in this dish is pappardelle. It's a type of long, wide pasta. It's like tagliatelle, but wider and more porous so that it can soak up those wonderful, rich boar sauces. And I'd look for hand-rolled pappardelle on the menu. They are rougher, but they really do better accommodate the thick and succulent hare sauce. Absolutely gorgeous. Ribollita is good if you're a vegetarian, you don't want all of this heavy meat. A traditional Tuscan soup. It's made with vegetables, you can get beans, and they use stale bread. A lot of these dishes come from the medieval tradition of using up everything, because they may have called it the poor man's dish, but it used up the bread and the vegetables that were just slightly going off. And you will find this dish throughout the restaurants there. In fact, it's spread throughout Italy. The word ribollita actually refers to the fact the dish is prepared by letting the ingredients cook together for many hours. And in this way, the flavors of the vegetable, the beans are intensified. And it means that if you are using out-of-date ingredients, they're not going to kill you. Now, my favorite. Wild boar stew. You cannot, if you're not a vegetarian, visit Siena without trying this. A typical dish, stewed wild boar, is definitely hearty, tasty. It's a highly prized meat. It can be very tough and fibrous, which is why the preparation of the dish takes a lot of time, and there's a very specific way in Siena of preparing it. And you'll get these extraordinary aromas and the bay leaves and the rosemary and the cloves and the juniper and the nutmeg. Absolutely delicious, particularly in the colder weather. And then finally, you'd have your Riccarelli biscuits, which are DOP certified, Siena's own protected designate of origin. These are robust-shaped, soft, fragrant shortbread with ground almonds, icing sugar, egg whites. Absolutely delicious. So where do we go from here? Well, we go to the final dish that I would recommend if you're in Siena, which is the Sienese papa al pomodoro. This is a typical Tuscan dish, particularly a favourite of the Siena area. Simple, but very tasty. And again, they use the stale bread, ripe tomatoes, garlic, basil, extra virgin olive oil, which from the Siena region is absolutely superb with a deep, pungent smell. I love it. It is peasant cuisine, traditionally prepared using the leftovers, ingredients that were available. But papa al pomodoro is very popular, particularly in the restaurants catering for the tourists who want to savour local culinary tradition. And its simplicity makes it a very versatile dish. It can be enjoyed year-round. Some well-known restaurants you may want to try. My favourite is the Astoria La Loga. It has this traditional Tuscan cuisine and very, very cosy ambience. It's on the Via del Poriono. Some of these addresses and places we mentioned will be on the fact sheet, which is on the toptraveldestinations.com website, and you can go there if you wish to track down the details of any of these particular things that are mentioned in this podcast. Another great restaurant to try is La Taverna di San Giuseppe. Historic trattoria serving very authentic Tuscan specialities, and it's a beautiful setting. And I love the way the waiters are quite, some of them are friendly and some of them throw the dishes in front of you. I quite like that. There's something about them. You have to feel for the drudgery that a lot of waiters have to put up with and serving all of these tourists. A final place worth ticking off your list is the Antica Astoria da Divo, which is actually housed in a former monastery. And it offers a refined dining experience, lots of local ingredients, and really traditional recipes. Now, you may be needing a drink after all of that. Now, what's good about this area of Siena is some of these particular wines. The Bianco Vergine della Valciano. This is usually served as an aperitif, great with hors d'oeuvres, and a beautiful light wine drunk young. Brunello di Montalcino, of course, very famous, extraordinary wine. This comes from the sunniest hills of Montalcino. It's exclusively obtained from Sangiovese grapes, which are renamed Brunello because of their dark red colour. This goes very well with the wild game dishes, especially the wild boar of Siena. And of course, then you cannot visit Siena without trying a Chianti Classico. This is produced in the hills between Florence and Siena. I've visited one of the great Chianti vineyards and I've stayed there. I've chatted to the winemaker. It's a fabulous experience. You should try it. You get this mix of Sangiovese, Canaiolo, Trebbiano, and white Malvasia grapes. Other grapes are thrown in, like the Mammolo and the Calorino, which gives it this sort of raisiny-like colour. Now, There's some great bars in Siena. Bar Il Palio, which is located on the Piazza del Campo. You have to go there, even though you pay through the teeth, to sit in the great square and people watch. Another bar which is great is the Pasticceria Nannini, a beloved bar known for its delicious pastries, excellent coffee. That's a good place to start the day with. And then you've got the Entocca Teresi. This is a cozy wine bar offering a wide selection of Tuscan wines, gourmet snacks. And they've a very knowledgeable staff. I enjoy that there. That's definitely worth checking out. When it comes to shopping, you've got some really amazing options here. My own favourite is the Casa della Pelle, which has this extraordinary range of leather goods. The quality of leather in Florence and Siena and that whole area of Tuscany is beyond compare. Of course, it gave birth to the famous Gucci name and is something that you don't really want to leave Siena without. The owners of this particular shop are very knowledgeable, and that's worth a try. Now, if you want to shop for something that you can actually take home and eat, then there's only one place to stand. That's the Siena Tartufi. This is where you can actually meet the owner, Alessandro. You can go on tours to actually collect truffle with him and his dogs. It's only just over €100, $100, and you will enjoy a quite unique experience, an absolutely fabulous way to actually get to know a native of Siena and to see how the dogs discover these extraordinary, rich and precious truffles. That's one, and I'll put the details in the fact sheet. A couple of other places to try, the Bottega del Sale. This is a really lovely boutique. Again, handmade ceramics and textiles. This is very classy, a little pricey, but you pay your money, you take your choice. Another place, La Vecchia Cartiera, historic shop housed in the former paper mill. Beautiful place, offering a wide range of paper products, stationery. It's just, if you like writing, if you like the sound of ink on pen. And the beauty of this shop actually takes the eyes out of your head. And then you've got places like the Emporio della Cosa Bella. This is a boutique with fabulous, again, local designers and artisans. Now, where to explore? Well, you have to go to the Piazza del Campo, this main square, renowned for its shell shape, the iconic Palazzo Pubblico, where you can climb the Torre del Mangia for these incredible views of the city, but do get a coffee downstairs or an ice cream. The Duomo del Siena, the Siena Cathedral, is a masterpiece of Italian Gothic architecture. Stunning Renaissance masters and breathtaking marble facade. Basilica di San Domenica, home of the relics of the St. Catherine of Siena, the famous saint, a wonderful place to visit, and you can get some quietness there. You can do a little bit of meditation there and just get away from the hustle and bustle, because Siena can be a hot, sticky place. Finally, I would suggest you do the Museo dell'Opera del Duomo. It's an art museum showcasing sculptures, paintings, decorative arts from Siena's cathedral complex, including works by two of my favourites of all time, Donatello and Michelangelo, two of the great geniuses that this little area of Italy somehow produced. And we're not even mentioning Leonardo. Isn't it incredible? How did they do it? There's something in the air. I will talk a little bit about that as well when I talk about, in the other podcast, about my walking the Via Vanzingeno, because that's the route that Michelangelo actually took, so you can walk in his footsteps. More of that on the other podcast. One thing you really must do if you are going to Siena is try to coincide with the Palio. No visit to Siena would be complete with experiencing just the thrill, the excitement of the Palio. This is one of the most renowned horse races in the world, if you have not heard of it. It goes back to the 16th century. It was first held to showcase the military prowess of the noble families of Siena. It's a symbol of the fierce civic pride, the communal spirit, the neighbourhoods, because it's these 14 neighbourhoods all fighting one another in these thrilling races in which people die, I kid you not. So try to organise that you get there for July the 2nd, the Palio di Provenzano, or the 16th of August, the Palio de Assunta. The Piazza del Campo is transformed into this makeshift racetrack. 10 of the 17 cities contrade or regions are selected, and they present their own jockey and a beautifully adorned horse. The pageantry, the competition, the celebration is absolutely quite unique. You can buy tickets. You need to book in advance. There are lots of alternatives, but they're pricey. I would suggest, if you want to avoid all of that, a little bit of inside information here, is to go in the week before the two Palios, because you will get pretty much the same experience without all of this terrible queuing and the hustle and bustle and the sudden increase in prices. But I have to say, when I went the week before, just a couple of years ago, there was something that actually made the hairs on the back of my head stand. I remember walking one afternoon past 3 of the Contraderas where the locals were getting ready. And there's something touching and almost sort of sentimental about watching these young, sort of very machismo Italian males lining up in their 14th century costumes, banging their drums in this extraordinary rhythm that's designed to basically intimidate their neighbours. I passed 4 different companies rehearsing on that big day, and they were all followed by their friends and families and neighbours, pushing buggies, all cheering, singing along, stamping their feet. But the noise of the drums, it goes into your heart, it goes into your blood and into your bones. I will never, ever forget it. So if you want a tip from our top travel destinations, Kevin Flanagan special, don't go for the Palio itself unless you can really afford and don't mind the hassle. Go in the week before. Drink up the atmosphere. Drink up the power of this antipathy between these tribes, which has been turned into this extraordinary pageant. It's absolutely unforgettable. I love Siena, and it is really one of my top travel destinations. And I would only ask that if you have enjoyed this podcast, please just share it with one friend so we can get people really getting the most out of their travel and their visits to these incredible top travel destinations around the world.